your summer internship?
My summer internship was great. As you know, I was here in Atlanta doing some employment and civil rights work. So I really enjoyed that opportunity or experience. And yeah, back into the swing of things with law school now.
Okay, okay.
How
Shoot.
are you
So
doing? You've been traveling everywhere this summer, it seems.
yeah, yeah, I have been, man. I just came back from the Martha's Vineyard for the where I covered the African American Film Festival over there, as well as other Black August events like the Black Book Festival. Had a
Mm,
lot of high profile VIPs there. Like Michelle Obama was there, her brother. They filmed their podcast there. Ketanji Brown Jackson was at the book festival. Former censure in law, Eric Holder, former attorney general, was
hmm.
there. I met him at a
Nice.
private Paul Ralph Lauren party, along with his daughters and such. His family was there. I mean, really, just so many people. So many filmmakers, creators. Dave Chappelle, met him out there. Mara Brockett, who is the creator of the Netflix series Forever, and
Mm,
or also creator of Girlfriends and Being Mary Jane. If you remember those shows growing up and such,
I
so
do.
yeah, it was
I
a
do.
very lot of good times there for sure. And attended a private men's luncheon. You remember Scandal? I'm sure,
Of
definitely.
course. Of
Papa
course.
Pope,
Say that again.
remember Papa Pope, Joe Morton?
Yes.
Yes, he was there. I met
Wow.
him. He was actually shorter than I thought he would be.
That's funny.
Saw Bishop T.D. Jakes. He was a couple tables away from me. It was a surprise. You never know you're gonna see in certain places and
You
spaces.
never know. You never know.
They just pop up and they're there, and you gotta act and behave accordingly and professionally.
That's right. That's exactly
We'll get
right.
right on into it, man. But I definitely hope you're able to one day make it out there. Once you get your studies and all that.
I would
You know,
love to. I know it's just, kind of a black mecca and a great place to just relax. And, black folks have a real history there. So that would be awesome to make it out one day.
yeah, for sure, for sure. It's definitely worth your time. For certainly. I mean, I'll invite you if you want. Hopefully maybe next year we could do WeekCap there. We could do a live recording. I've been wanting to do a live recording for the longest time, but it's a lot easier said than done. But I
That's
want
right.
in 2026 have some live recordings, and maybe that can be one of our spots there because some folks do live podcastings for the shows there. I've from who I've met, so it's not impossible. We
Yeah,
just
no, we should
make it work.
definitely try and do that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's been crazy out there. It's been crazy out there in the world this summer. Um, what's going on with the country, going on in politics, sports, entertainment. It's just a whole lot of stuff just going on. So I let's just go right on into it. So let's just what are your thoughts, man, on California Governor Gavin Newsom and his apparent trolling war with the Trump administration?
I mean, I think that's a great place to start, Clay, because that really epitomizes kind of where we are politically. We have this new kind of wave of Democrats actually calling things out, like Gavin Newsom, like Mamdani in New York, and saying we're not going to play the old rules. We're going to do something different and we're going to stick to it. And so I think it's funny, first of all. I think it's particularly funny because a lot of MAGA people don't even understand the humor and understand that he's making fun of Trump by tweeting that
Yeah,
way. Of course, it's not him, it's somebody on his team making this
yeah,
up. But
obviously,
I
yeah,
think it's a great way to really punch back. And he, to our point, before the summer we always talked about, he's actually following that up with action, right? They passed at least the first step of that redistricting plan to counter what Texas is doing. And so whatever, side you fall on that, he's actually talking the talk, but also walking the walk. So I love it. It's something new. It's something different. It's funny. It's engaging. A lot of my friends, like it. It's something that I can talk about with other people in Gen Z and it doesn't go over their heads. I mean, Trump is just an idiot, right? And so to have Gavin Newsom play on that and then followed up with policy, I think it's pretty powerful. What about you?
yeah. It is. I mean, I like it. I think whatever, regardless of what you may think of Gavin Newsom, I think it does offer something that people like you or I or anybody else who shares like-minded views and beliefs would like to see from our elected officials, especially in this Trump era that we've been in, really the past decade now. You know, we kind of started out, we thought Trump would be an aberration or an anomaly. So we always kind of resorted back to Michelle Obama's when they go low, we go high, which she said in Martha's Vineyard. She revises her position on that now. So that being said, I'm glad we're seeing this now, but as I've always said, we got to meet it with policy. You know, I've said that a lot about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who was at Martha's Vineyard as well, who I attended her live panel with Reverend Al Sharpton and Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have my views on her, but at least she's taking the fight to them,
Right.
to the administration. And I would like to see more people in high positions follow suit. And quite honestly, I would have loved to have seen that more from former Vice President Kamala Harris on the campaign trail last year. And I understand, you know, people, it's icky, it's gooey, it's uncomfortable to resort to unprofessionalism. But I think that would have been, even if she just had people on her team doing it instead of her herself, I think that would have probably made a difference at the end of the day. Maybe, maybe not, but you could see now it's clearly working, at least with public opinion. It's going to really matter, you know, going forward with the midterms. And so, I mean, they're funny. It's good entertainment. It's good fodder, but I would like to see it more. And I hate that we have to get to this point, but this is where we are. So you have to fight fire with fire. We can't keep losing elections, and we can't subsequently have these drastic, consequential policy decisions happen. So if you can't bring knives to a gunfight. You're gonna have to. Someone's gonna have to roll up their sleeves and get dirty. That's just the world we live in. Will we like everybody to be Roll Martin or Jasmine Crockett or anybody else who's very critical on Trump every day in elected office? Absolutely. I mean, at this point, we need to see it. You can't play the old games with decorum and professional. It's just not working. And yeah, it's uncomfortable, but somebody is just going to have to be the sacrificial lamb and do it.
Right. Right. And I think to your point, you know, Jasmine Crockett, of course, does do a lot of talking, but I do think she ushers in kind of a new way of talking about politics. And she's grown on me recently in that she's actually been taking some action, right? She went and stood with the Texas Democrats when they kind of went around the country to protest the redistricting vote down there. And the way that she is just always talking about the Trump administration and calling a spade, even on these Epstein files. Right now, the House Oversight Committee has at least part of those files. That's the committee she sits on. So I do like that, to your point. She always pushes to make sure that the public is aware of what's going on. But to your point, also, I just wish the Democrats generally did more acting, right? Kind of that Gavin Newsom model. I'm going to talk the talk, but I'm going to do something with the power that I have. Now, I know California is different from, you know, Texas, which is different from North Carolina. So Democrats are kind of on one accord in California, and they have more power than in Texas or in North Carolina. But still, I think Democrats can do more when it comes to action. And you mentioned Kamala Harris. Let's jump there for a minute.
Yeah.
So now she's announced this book tour. She's going to stop through She's going to stop through Atlanta. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think it's too soon? Do you think, I mean, what is the point of that? I think she's going overseas as well.
Yeah, I saw the UK listed. I could be wrong. If you don't mind lifetime real fact checking, that'd be good. Only because
yeah, I will. I'll pull up.
Probably have my system. I don't want my system to crash at all. I have an older MacBook than you. I'm going to probably safely assume. So yes, but that being said, yeah, I don't have a problem with the book itself. Books are going to sell, and she's obviously going to have a big press tour about it. I'd like to go see it, but I mean, it is $423. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, if they can get me to cover as press, I'll do it. But I'm just saying, like, she loves Durham. She's been in Durham more than we're probably expected. But
She's
yeah,
been in Durham a lot.
look for that list of cities. I'm surprised Charlotte ain't there. I'm just gonna say that. But for some reason, she just loved Durham. Maybe she likes Leo a whole lot. I don't know. Be quiet. Anywho, I would have liked to have seen her run for California governor. If the mission is she's going to run for president again, okay, but I don't think she's suited to run for president again. I think I probably mentioned that before. I think she would have been better suited to succeed Gavin Newsom because California is the world's third largest economy. All, but that's her choice at the end of the day. I don't know if the book is going to be really revealing. I mean, we're just kind of a touch upon the previous discussion. She's boring, Greer. We just had to finally just admit that we're out of the campaign phase now. The votes have been casted. We are here now. She boring, bruh. She's a great woman. She boring. And I don't know if this book is going to do anything to really change the public opinion. And if this is part of a larger strategy to run for president, I don't think it'll do anything. Now, as I said before, had she went the Gavin Newsom route last fall, we were probably having a different WeekCap discussion right now on the state of affairs in the world. But here we are. But I hope the tour goes well. I mean, she did do regardless. She did accomplish a lot. I have mixed feelings about her, but I definitely respect the position and what she's done and all. So I hope the book tour goes well, and I wish her well. But I don't think it's going to really do anything. If anything, I think it's going to provide more red meat for the MAGA base.
So, that's really interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I hope it goes well. Also, I kind of did want her to run for governor of California as well. But to your point, I think, this is kind of it. I don't see how she can run for president or even governor of California in the future and get enough votes to win. So it seems like this is kind of her hurrah tour, and just the live fact check results, the foreign destinations, if you will, where she's taken this book tour on the road include Toronto, Ontario, and London. You were correct, in the UK. So in Durham, she'll be in Durham at DPAC, I believe, and that's in connection or partnership with Quail Ridge Books. And so I don't know. I think didn't Michelle Obama do a book tour for Becoming, and made
she
some.
Never came to Durham. No,
but I don't know if she came to Durham though.
Hillary Clinton did a book tour last year and came to Durham, but not Michelle.
Okay, gotcha. So I don't know if she's trying to do something like that, or if, to your point, if this is, something from which she can launch and run for higher office. Again, I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I don't really. Aside from that, I don't know what she wants her role to be in public life, or even not public as in public office, but just in the public sphere in general. I mean, most vice presidents, we don't really usually hear from them too much once they leave office. I mean, you might have you have Al Gore with his climate change organizations and such. Dick Cheney, I don't know where the heck he at. I'm just being honest. And Mike Pence, God knows where he at. I think
he's chilling. He's trying not to get attacked by the MAGA folks.
Exactly. I think he still has PTSD from January 6th. But yeah, you don't typically see vice presidents that visible once they leave office. I mean, it's hard enough to get a president to be visible, let alone a vice president. I mean, yeah, Obama's doing quite a bit right now, but I mean, I don't expect, we've had this discussion before. I don't really expect him to do too much. I'm not going to ask him to do too much like others have. So if he wants to go on Michelle's podcast or other folks' podcast, that's fine. I'm, he did his time. I'm not going to be like, we need you to speak more. I don't need that from him. But his comments on Texas have been interesting. I did see that Rowan Martin did a 30-minute or 20-minute takedown of Obama, calling him a hypocrite. True story.
Really?
Yeah, because, and you could, again, this is real-time fact checking. If you want to Google this or YouTube search it, the analysis was that the reason why we're in this redistricting mess because Obama left he basically let the state parties, he messed with the state party infrastructure when it comes to the DNC, when it comes to just funding, fundraising, and just mobilization efforts with the state parties and such. That's a valid and fair criticism. It really is, especially for someone who worked on campaigns during those times. I can definitely attest to that. So he basically called Obama a hypocrite, and then he said he didn't really care what the comments or blowback would be from that. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I
mean,
certainly have my critiques of that particular administration too, when it comes to just that particular aspect. But hey, what do you feel about that?
uh, I mean, I do like that Obama made a statement and that he was discussing, I guess you could say, the radical, not radical necessarily, but that he was on the side of the Texas Democrats and just saying, yes, you got to fight fire with fire. That was good. I think his comments can kind of go either way. I mean, most people like him. So it's like, okay, great. Barack said something. But it's also like, does that really move the needle? Does he really need to comment on all of these little political things? Is it a fundraising ploy or, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would say just from someone who have been in that space a little longer, from that point
Hmm.
of personal privilege, I definitely do feel as though he still kind of operates for the politics of yesterday or yesteryear, and still has this idealistic vision of, quite frankly, a country that doesn't really exist anymore. I don't know if he's aware of that, or if he's aware of it, he just doesn't pay it any mind. And that was a lot of folks' criticism of him, that he doesn't really seem to be too aware. And I'm just going to be honest, because of what we look like when it comes to folks who look like us. Um, and those concerns are valid too. But again, I know I'm kind of being constructively critical of everyone today, but I respect the man. I voted for him twice, worked hard for him, everything else, but he did miss the mark on a lot of things, respectfully saying.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I would agree with that totally. Let's
Okay.
shift the conversation again and talk about the big news of the day, which we alluded to earlier, but the Epstein files and the fact that the Oversight Committee now has a portion of them. Specifically, they have the transcript between the conversation that took place between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell down there in Florida before she got moved to that cushy prison in Texas. So I guess I'll let you start here. I mean, this is a big story. Democrats, Republicans talking about it. Is Trump involved? Bill Clinton's name is
Yeah.
in the files. I mean, do you think this is a big nothing burger, or do you think there's something here? Democrats should keep talking about it.
So I think it's a big nothing burger. This is kind of giving me shades of the Russia Moore investigation from the first Trump term. You want to find all this dirt for? Are you trying to impeach him? We tried to impeach this man twice. It didn't work. I still think that Democrats are still trying to go the impeachment route deep down. We could try to impeach him a third time, fourth time. Come on now. Hey, I don't know what you want out of these. Okay, let's just say he was involved with Epstein. What's it going to do right now? Is he going to walk out of office? Is he going to walk out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? You try to impeach this man twice, three times really, over the Mueller investigation with Russia, then the Ukraine thing, and then January 6th. If those couldn't get him out of office, why he gonna get out now? Especially when now all the courts and all the political levers are in his favor more so than they were then. Now I'm getting passionate now. So
No,
I
I
don't
think you're right.
waste
Go, keep going.
I don't want to waste time on stuff that's going to ultimately lead to nothing. Because if you couldn't get him out then, when you ran Congress, when you had a better chance with the courts or everything, or even with the Justice Department, especially with Merrick Garland, even when we had the White House, still couldn't even get him. You think he has every control of power now in Washington? They could literally said he literally. I'm not even joking with you. He could literally have been on that island and done deplorable things to those young girls. It's still nothing gonna happen. They ain't nobody gonna touch him. So it's a
Right.
waste of time. That's just how I
Right.
think about it.
No, I
So
agree. And again, it goes back to this Trump phenomenon that political scientists and even, average Joe folks like, well, we're not average, but I was about to say like you and me talk about all the
I ain't been
time,
average in a long time, man.
which is
I like to know when
which
that
is
was.
which is the fact that Trump is just very untouchable and his base will just ride from him through thick or thin, even with this, right, where his base does care about, it seems, this Epstein predicament and what happened with these young girls, which, to use your word, is deplorable. I don't think they would want to impeach Trump because they think he's the best thing. They would at least want a succession plan in place, okay? JD Vance, who's just as bad as Trump in my book, and then they would have to pick some new VP. Like, MAGA doesn't want to go through all that. And so for
They don't have a succession plan. We'll talk about that at a later date and time.
right. I mean, at this particular point, I don't think that, going down this Epstein rabbit hole is really the way to go. I do think it's important, but I think in a way people have been talking about, this takeover of DC, which we'll talk about in a second, and some of these other world events and what Trump did with Putin rolling out the red carpet for him was distracting from the Epstein files. But I think all of this is a distraction from the actual policies that are hurting marginalized people like they always or consistently have on the right. The big, beautiful bill, which is really the big, ugly bill, does nothing to help marginalized people. We've got this war in the Middle East still taking place. We've got this war in Russia and Ukraine still taking place in which marginalized people are being hurt and killed. And then you have everything going on in this country. Homelessness is a very big issue right now. Even though cities like Atlanta, cities like Baltimore, they're doing good things when it comes to homelessness and they are reducing their crime, we need to focus on the issues that are occurring in this country at the present instead of continuing to go back and go down this, it's not a witch hunt, but a rabbit hole, if you will, when it comes to Epstein. Because a lot of people on both sides of the aisle have said, political commentators from both sides of the aisle have said, well, Democrats were in office, Republicans were in office. They didn't charge anybody else. They didn't convict anybody else. It was just kind of Epstein and Maxwell. So to your point, why is it going to be different now? I mean, we get the names of these rich guys. That should become the federal government's focus. I mean, I know it's important for these victims to make sure that they have justice and to make sure that, if these men did deplorable things, they're not just running around. Okay, I understand that. But to turn this into a sticking point for this administration, I think it's overblown.
You're not going to win the moral argument on him anymore, on Trump. You're just not. So this is a waste of time. And I don't know if I mentioned this before. I think he's going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Matter of fact, I'll place you an Applebee's or Chili's dinner bet because that's all I can afford in Atlanta. Next time I'm there, hey, the margarita deals are good right now, but that's kind of my running joke. But I will bet you a Applebee's or Chili's dinner or a 4 for $4 margarita deal that Ghislaine Maxwell, Diddy, and just one other third person. My mind's a little shot right now. Coffee ain't kicking in completely. I think he's gonna pardon 3 people, three of those folks. I can't think of the third person. Will come to me probably randomly, so I might bring it up later. I think he's gonna pardon them all in the same day. It will not even surprise me. Matter of fact, I'll even bet that.
I wouldn't be
because
surprised.
He does all his pardons in one day, in the
right.
one so.
Right.
While you're at it, why don't you throw in the Menendez brothers too while you're at it? Well, that's more up to Gavin Newsom, but Mr.
Right.
Lawson, but
yeah, were they both denied parole?
They actually were.
Yeah.
I think well, that's a state thing, but just a side note on that. I think Gavin Newsom, if he really wants this, he should just pardon them at this point. I don't, at this point, I think we've known the story. They've shown remorse or at least the degree of it. I think Gavin Newsom should just pardon them brothers.
Yeah, because it's going to be a story every time they come up before that board now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. and he would have had to given California law, you would have had to approve of it anyway, even if they were granted. But the California is a little different, where at the end of the day, whether it's approval or denial, the governor still has to review, or the governor's office has to review it. So I think if you want, since while he's mean tweeting, while he just go ahead and pardon him while he at it. If you really want to flex the muscle, I'm
Right.
just, if his plans are making noises and splash, go ahead and do that while you at it. So hey,
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
I don't think anybody would be mad at all. Yeah.
What do you think of this federal takeover that's happening in DC and that might soon happen in Chicago, even though I don't think Chicago is going to play that? What do you think? I mean, do you think it's effective? Do you think it is
It,
appropriate? I mean,
well, you already know my answer on that, so I'm going to answer it from this lens. It's effective for his base. It's effective for his base. But we know who he's going after: Democratic city or run cities, or majority black or black influenced cities. So I think Chicago will be next. Don't really think he'll touch New York too much because he's good with Adams now, supposedly.
right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he comes down here. That's another. I think that's another Applebee's or a Chili's dinner bet there.
You think he's going to come down where? North Carolina or Atlanta?
Durham and
Oh,
Atlanta.
Durham.
I think he's gonna come. Black
I wouldn't be
cities, black
surprised.
mayors, black culture. Oh yeah.
What
I'm
about
just
maybe? Well, Baltimore has reduced their crime. They've been in the news for that, but maybe
no matter they
Philadelphia.
reduced it. What's the perception? My mother always told me it ain't about what the numbers are, it's about the perception.
That's true. That's true.
Exactly.
So
Perception.
Baltimore could be on the list. Philly could be on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Philly used to be very dangerous. When you're about as old as my younger brother. When you were about born around year 2000, that's when you were born, right? 2000.
Right.
Philly was very dangerous. You couldn't
Mm.
you couldn't drive in Philly. I remember going through. We never used to step in Philly because it was that. Now Philly's like, oh, let's have a day party here. Let's have a brunch here. Let's go to. Now it's like now it's luxury. I'm not even kidding. Maybe
Wow.
I hope Baltimore does get to that point because you don't find yourself in Baltimore unless you got business there.
That's true.
Being honest,
I just think it's a bad. Well, to your point, it's not a bad look to the base, but it's a bad look overall when you have National Guard. And I heard this on some political show the other day. They're in DC, but they're actually not where the highest crime is. So they're not going. I think it may be east or southeast DC. They're actually not going over there and patrolling those streets. And so the right is saying, well, it's been a week. There hasn't been a murder. Well, there have been other weeks in this calendar year where there haven't been murders in DC. So that's not a solid argument. And to your point, we know who they're going after: black and brown people, black and brown men in particular. And I mean, another story that I saw yesterday was the story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who they wrongfully deported. And then a judge in Tennessee yesterday let him out because they said he's not dangerous. He might, return to stand trial or whatever, but he's out just living his life in America because the judge said, yeah, when it comes to the calculation I have to make about bail or bond or whatever, he should be released. Like, what are we doing? We're deporting people wrongfully before they can even have a trial. We're rounding people up, which we'll get to. I mean, ICE is just out of control. I saw a video on social media the other day, I don't think was AI, where they were going to a barbershop and looking for somebody, and it was a young person, and they said, well, if we can't get you, we're going to just get your parents, and then almost like force you to talk and tell us what we want to hear, and then we'll figure out the rest later. I mean, that is so unconstitutional, and undemocratic, but they don't seem to care about that, and the base doesn't seem to care about that. So how do you, I guess here's my question for you, how do Democrats or people on the left fight against these narratives or these actions from ICE and Trump and the National Guard when they're not even adhering to the Constitution? How do you fight against that, especially when you don't have any power in Congress legislatively?
Yeah. So I'm gonna look at what Governor Westmore had said. He flat out, and that's another person I have mixed feelings on. So, I'm too much of a critical thinker. Me, I just don't believe in being at this stage of in my experience in this world. I just don't believe in being fans of politicians. So that's just the basis of my my perspective on a lot of things. They're not your friends. They're people who I know people don't like to hear that, especially in political nerds don't like to hear that. But I'm just being honest with you. But he had said that, look, I've been a soldier. I patrolled cities overseas, and I ain't gonna do nothing with my National Guard. He could try, but he ain't gonna do nothing. So you got to have that energy and spirit, and you can again fact check those quotes on that in real time here. He was being interviewed on someone's platform, and he said that, I'm not sure which. That's why it's a little hard to source this, but I agree with that. You got to take the Gavin Newsom approach: just fight fire with fire. That means getting dirty. You got to have some dogs in you, just like what Coach Prime says. I need some folks who got some dogs in them. So you're gonna have to have folks who are willing to get some penalties. I ain't gonna let you score a touch. We're gonna get to sports later. I ain't gonna let you get a touchdown, so I'm gonna risk a 15-yard penalty. You got to need folks who are willing to grease around the law just like they do. That's why I said.
I agree. I agree. Because it's just, what else can you do at this point? You can't just take the moral high ground like Democrats and liberals have done forever, and then they lose all their power. People get deported and all this stuff. I mean, you've got to combat it. Almost like just for this example, the Alex Padilla model, where he walked in there and they say he disrupted that press conference. He didn't do anything wrong. And then, they went and took him outside and arrested him, and he was pushing back the whole time. Like, that's the kind of stuff that actually did trigger some people to say, wait, this seems a little much, even for me as a conservative, or even for me as MAGA. Like, he did identify himself, right? He did, try, and he wasn't cursing, he wasn't threatening anyone, and for him to be treated that way, it was wrong. I mean, of course, we moved on from that story because it's America, but that in particular, that moment, I thought might, be a spark for Democrats to be a little more disruptive and to, get into some, as John Lewis called it, good trouble. But we might even need folks to get into bad trouble these days, because what even is good and bad when you have people on the right who are defying the Constitution? So
you're gonna need some folks. I hate to say this, but you got to be some folks who ain't afraid to go to jail. You going not afraid to get their suit, their nice Brooks Brothers suit dirty.
I agree.
I'm just gonna be on. You're gonna have to have. Ain't nobody got that dog in them on our side, really. Except, well, I know Gavin's talking lately, but where have you been? Where you been, bro? I was just saying,
right?
I think Jasmine Crockett got some of that dog in her, but I just hope she's just not doing things just for the gram and TikTok. Okay.
Well, and she's actually gone to jail before, she said, and she's been arrested when she was in as a state legislator, and of course, she's also a criminal defense attorney, so she's very familiar with jails. As a budding criminal defense attorney myself, so I think you're right. I think the aptitude for just division and violence that America has is the sad part. I mean, I saw a story, and this is just a quick aside, the other day, that they're still concealing documents in that Uvalde school shooting, and they don't want the public to know that law enforcement was wrong for not going in there. And then we have this hoax at Villanova earlier this week where it was like a fake school shooting. And then, of course, we haven't even discussed the shooting on Emory's campus a few weeks ago, where the dude was just shooting into the CDC because he felt empowered to do so because of conspiracy theorists. And he had gotten the COVID-19 vaccine, he got sick, and so he wanted to kill somebody at the CDC. Ended up killing a local police officer here who had a baby on the way. And we just move on. People probably forget that there was a whole basically serial killer in Minnesota, I believe it was, where he went on he was trying to go on a rampage and kill as many Democratic state legislators and politicians as he could. And we just moved on from that after a week. And so I think when it comes to these takeovers and talks about crime and talks about safety, first of all, guns are a problem, right? Believe it or not. Guns are an issue. And a lot of the guns in these cities, right, that are Democrat-led or black and brown come from red states. And so, and the people on the ground will tell you that. And so we need to have, serious people need to have a conversation about what it really looks like to reduce crime. And we've talked about it before as it concerns Durham, what it looks like to reduce crime, what it looks like to give people a hope and a future, and what it really looks like to be an active member of society and not just sit around while people lose their rights. Okay, I'm off my soapbox
No,
now.
you're good. No, you're good, man. Keep going, because I'll go on soapboxes all day.
It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. But we can move on to another
Yeah.
topic now. I just want people to be aware that they have agency and power, and we don't have to give in. I know it's tiring, but
Hmm. So, what are your thoughts on Roy Cooper jumping into the Senate race? That literally just came to my mind. I'm trying to recap like a whole few months worth, and as
I
much as
know.
so. If
I
I do
know.
things in a rapid fire question, just don't be alarmed. But yeah, we think about Roy Cooper and his chances.
Let's see. No, I like rapid fire, so that won't bother me. I think it's a good move. I don't know if we discussed this or not, but I thought that he was, even though he is a little older now, I thought he was always going to be the strongest candidate out of the names that I was hearing. Wiley Nickel, Roy Cooper. There was another name, but I knew that he was going to be the strongest candidate. He can fundraise. People across the state like him. Even when Trump, was winning across the state, Roy Cooper was also winning, which is an interesting phenomenon. He's from Nash County, and I think he will win if he goes out and puts his boots on the ground, so to speak, in the rural parts of the state, because we already know that the cities are going to go for him, the big cities. So I think he needs to get out and fundraise, but actually put that money to use in the most rural parts of the state. So I like it. I know it's a 6-year position, U.S. Senate, so he will be pretty old if he serves that whole term.
That ain't
So
nothing new. They ain't nothing new.
it's nothing new, but I just hope they have a succession plan. I don't know. He might get in there and get comfortable, but I like Roy. It's no surprise or no secret that America does kind of like him, but that North Carolina in particular likes him and will vote for him. So I'm seeing him all over my social media. People from around the country are talking about how important this race is going to be, how expensive it's going to be, and how much it really is going to boil down to speaking to the voters. Because a lot of people in North Carolina, they don't even know the other guy running, Michael Whatley, but he's going to get a lot of national fundraising and attention. But if you just ask the average person in North Carolina, who is Michael Whatley versus who is Roy Cooper, they're going to know Roy Cooper, whether they like him or not.
Yeah.
But they're not going to know Whatley as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets his name out there as a Republican.
Yeah, name ID's going to work in this state. I mean, I don't think we're going to have another Cuomo situation. Obviously, you're talking about different races here where that's the one anomaly where the name ID didn't do nothing for you. We don't have a Mandani in North Carolina. I don't think we could have a Mandani in North Carolina. Definitely not. You can't. The name alone ain't going to work. I'm just being honest. So I don't care if folks try and cancel me. I'm being honest.
Mandani. No, you're right. You're right.
Cannot work in North Carolina. I'm just being honest. But yeah, I think Roy going to win. He ain't never lost a Republican. I'm not even going to have a thorough analysis. There ain't enough to analyze. Look, if UNC is playing App State, you already know they're going to win. It's just we don't need to have no analysis.
Right. Well, they're saying it's going to be the most expensive race next year. What do you think about that? I mean, all of this money in the race.
Well, I know they want to be preventative and overspend. I don't think you need to overspend, but they're gonna do it anyway.
Right, of course.
I mean, his name ID alone is good enough. I saw your post on Facebook not too long ago. It said North Carolinians, I think it was a reshare, are serious about Bojangles, Shearwine, Food Lion, and Roy Cooper. Something to that extent. That's the truth.
Yep. I mean, it's true. And then, of course, people were adding in the comments. They were talking about Smithfield's Barbecue and J. Cole and Rhapsody. But it's true. Oh, I think Sherry Berry was on that list. The old.
Oh, yeah, Sherry Berry. Yeah.
But it's true, right? And I think she kind of turned into a Trumpy or a MAGA. But it's true. People like what they like, and name recognition or name ID does matter. And I think Roy will be fine in this race. Of course, they're, trying to be preventative, like you said. But hey, we'll see what happens there. All right, let's talk about sports if you want. Go ahead.
How you feel about Chapel Bill?
Chapel Bill.
College football season has officially started. How you feel about Chapel Bill this year?
I am excited about college football season. I'll say that. I'm very excited. I don't know how to feel. I need to see something, right? I need to see him winning it. I want to see a lot of winning. I just don't know. Like, I don't know many of the guys on the team. I don't know if we have, really big names. Of course, I'm a little removed now from college, but it's going to all boil down to how Chapel Bill, as he's called, gets them together and has them playing. I think that they have a good schedule. I think we have opportunities to win, but it
You
will.
going to any games? Any home games?
I might go to one, maybe around homecoming or something.
Are
I
they
would love
playing
to
Georgia Tech?
participate
Are
in
they
action.
playing Georgia Tech here or in Atlanta this year? Do you know?
Say that again.
Are they playing Georgia Tech? I only say it because you're in Atlanta too. Are they playing Georgia Tech here in North Carolina or over in Atlanta?
So I actually don't think they're playing Georgia Tech this year.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the teams that they kind of rotate through. But I did go to the UNC Georgia Tech game down here a few years ago. But let me just live fact check myself. Yeah, so they've got, let's see. Oh, yeah. So they're starting off the season on September 1st against TCU. And then they've got UNC Charlotte, Richmond, Central Florida, Clemson at home, meaning in Chapel Hill. California, I forgot California was in the conference now. Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Wake Forest at Wake Forest, Duke at UNC, and then NC State at NC State. So no Georgia Tech, but a pretty decent schedule.
Oh man, that was a good that would have been a good opportunity for you.
I know it really would have.
Yeah,
And so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What are your thoughts? I know
I
I know
think
that it's gonna be full and the tickets are gonna be sold out. It's gonna be really hyped. But what do you think's actually gonna
I
happen?
think that's as far as it goes. I'm just gonna be honest. I think it's gonna be a mediocre season for Bill. I'm just being honest. I mean, listen, I could be completely wrong, but I don't know how his pro style coaching is going to translate to college. It's a different animal. And last we saw you, you weren't very good. Now the recruiting was good, but recruiting means nothing until the actual execution on the field. Um, I think they'll be as good as they were last year, maybe a win or two better. But am I going to put them up on the national championship discussion? No, I don't even have them in the playoff discussion. And
Really?
then, yeah, no, not even. Again, I could be
But
surprised.
do you think that, I guess, follow up, do you think that all of the hype, if they do pretty well or if they do a little better than expected, do you think that might help them get into the playoff?
Uh, until people stop living on the SEC like they do, I don't see that changing. ACC has never really fared well in the BCS era, college football playoff era, minus the Clemson. I don't think so. If they were
Right.
SEC school, definitely, but not, or maybe a Big Ten school. I know they keep on realigning everything to death, but
Right.
I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't even for Bill Belichick. I don't think they're going to change one bit. He's still a pro guy who came to college. They don't care that you Bill Belichick in
I
college.
think that's true. I
That's
think
just
that's
a
true.
fact. And nobody wants you in the NFL. You're gonna always be the guy who, man, outside of Tom Brady, you couldn't really develop a quarterback. Now, this is college; it's a little different, but again, it's just like I said earlier discussion while we were discussing politics. It's about the perception. You stunk without Brady. That's a fact. That's on
Mm.
your record.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
And
mean,
how, yeah,
do you think he's washed up? Would you say that?
yeah, he
Or
washed up. He
he
washed
has a
up.
lot to prove, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the press PR tour was good. Don't get me wrong. It was good
That
for
little girlfriend helped.
it definitely did help, but that ain't going to trade. That's a show up on the win loss record. There's
Mm,
not when you have to win loss record as I know she doesn't like me quoting her a lot, but my mother always says there's wins and there's losses. There ain't wins, shoulda, coulda wins, or shoulda, coulda losses.
right,
So
right.
yes, so there is no win, loss, coulda, shoulda, or there's not a third or fourth column that says media PR.
Mm,
Media PR ain't gonna score you. That's to show up on the win column. And
that's true.
I'm gonna extend this over to Coach Prime in Colorado just to
Mm-hmm.
save time
Mm-hmm.
here. I don't think you're going to playoffs either. You get a lot of headlines in media. We love Coach. We love Dion, but nobody wants to hear these truths. But I'm just gonna say it. Y'all ain't that good. You don't have your sons there no more. Who would you pick up in the recruit? Nobody. He had a health scare. What? Who he pick up? Greer, come on.
Right. I don't know. I
He
don't know. And
ain't
you're
pick up
right. These
nobody.
people are judged by their record. You're
Exactly.
exactly right. I mean, shifting the conversation in the time we have left, but what do you think? Do you have any thoughts on pro football, on NFL this season? Any
Yeah.
predictions or anything you're looking for?
Um. Look, this season is going to be an interesting one. Um. I I will say that I think the Eagles are primed to repeat. That's probably a lazy take, but I don't really see anybody. I think the Chiefs. I don't know how good they're going to be compared to last year. I mean, they should be better offensively and defensively because they weren't that good last year. They really, at the end of the day, they just got by a lot of games. At the end of the day, if you kind of look back at it on hindsight, and they were exposed in front of hundreds of millions of people back in February, New Orleans. So I think their name and their reputation will carry them through. But as we just said, that doesn't show up on the win loss record. I
Right.
think the Chiefs will finally. I think their run, as we know it, is coming to a close. I don't mean that. I don't think they're going to be out of the playoffs, but I do feel that they're not going to be what you call a contender. So this is a perfect opportunity for a Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Justin Herbert to finally come through. And they play in a tough division, the Chiefs.
That's true.
Got Pete Carroll with the Raiders. The Chargers, you can't expect them to keep being a doormat, especially with Harbaugh
Hmm.
and Herbert. Um, the Broncos, they could be a sleeper. So you got a tough division by itself. And Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and the Bills Ravens, they're not gonna keep on just letting you beat them.
No.
This is not gonna, when back in the day when the Bills were going, Jim Kelly's Bills were going to the Super Bowl 4 years ago. At some point, somebody else is going to take over.
Right.
That's just the reality on that. Now, on the NFC side, I think the Panthers will have a surprisingly good season. Um, and I think they'll make a lot of noise. So will the Falcons. I think the Bucks are going to drop off. Saints, I don't expect nothing out of them. They're going to be the Aints. I'm just being honest on that. I'm going for division by division now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for
NFC
it.
East, Cowboys, they ain't go. They're gonna make a lot of news. Obviously, they got a Netflix documentary, but they ain't got nobody. I mean, they don't even have Michael Parsons for sure yet. That so the Giants, they gonna be bad. So yeah, Eagles are definitely coming. Commanders, I ain't gonna sleep on them, but the Eagles are they're just a top.
Yeah.
They're just on the top of that boat. So the Commanders can make some noise. We're talking NFC West. I'm kind of in the wrong place here. I think the Rams are going to be very good. 49ers, I don't really expect too much out of them. We're talking about the NFC South, NFC North. I think the Vikings will stay on top. I think the Lions will have a little drop off. So yeah, I think the Eagles are poised to repeat. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't see anybody who can stop them unless some team catches them on a bad day, a bad time.
Right.
Shador Sanders, that whole saga, can't really ignore that. I don't think he's going to get really any playing time this year. Quite frankly, it's just the way the system is set up. And Flacco, he's still a Super Bowl winning quarterback at the end of the day. He
That's
won all
true.
the
I thought it was funny how people were talking about what was it, that preseason game against the Panthers, and they were like,
Mhm.
"Look at Shador," and I'm over here laughing because I'm like, they were playing the Panthers. Like,
Yes. Can we finally have a honest talk on that? This is why I don't like involving casual fans in sports conversations, because then you got to pick a side. Well, if you ain't riding with Shador completely, you ain't really down with the cause or the culture. Greer, I'm just gonna be honest. Let's remove all of that. He ain't that good, bro. I'm
right.
just gonna be dead honest. He ain't gonna get no playing time.
I agree.
And what happened to him draft night was wrong. We can admit to that.
Totally.
Multiple things can be true at once, but we got to pick a side. Oh boy, I mean, we love Dion, we love all that, but reality is he has a lot on his game that he can improve, even in college. There's times he just throws some turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Just being straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And even I know this is really a controversial take. If we're going to go all the way, I do like to support the social justice causes, but let's just make sure we can acknowledge multiple things are true at once. Going back to Kaepernick struggled. What he did was good, but it's hard when you ain't producing. See, if he was a playoff contending, if he was Super Bowl caliber level, if he was like a Lamar Jackson, using modern terms, all right, I could see the point. But I was always told when people already have it out against you, you better make sure you give it 100%. You better make sure your production is good, because if your production is stanky, you're not. The argument doesn't make it easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my take on these things. It's like, I agree with the causes. I agree. I know the racism that goes on in these leagues. But at the end of the day, given that, you got to produce. And in everything, it's a team sport. You got to click on all cylinders. I get that. But that's just the way it is in football. The win-loss record is the only thing that matters, is on top of your stats.
Right.
Yeah.
Nope. You're preaching. I wanted to wrap by talking about this, because you mentioned New Orleans when you were running down the NFL or through the NFL, and you also mentioned that Cowboys documentary. So putting those two ideas together, there are a lot of documentaries coming out and already out about the 20 years since Hurricane Katrina and the impact that had on New Orleans and on the country. So, in these last few minutes, what, because you probably remember that a little better than I do, what do you think that means, right? To have 20 years since Katrina, have we learned lessons when it comes to disaster response? I know it really impacted the Black community there in and outside of Louisiana, in and outside of New Orleans. So I keep seeing so many ads and so many conversations, even on CNN and things about Katrina. What are your thoughts? What do you think the takeaways are from that?
Takeaway responses is that, and I don't know what you organically remember from that time, in real time, I would say that government, you can never have too big of a government when it comes to government response. We had a faulty administration then, and we even have a worse faulty administration now, if we were to have, God forbid, a Katrina come today. So as bad as Bush was when he handled Katrina, you probably would take that over what we have now. We ain't in no position to deal with a natural disaster right now, as it's currently constituted, no pun intended. That's just the God's honest truth for that. So we have to rely on our state and local resources, or even private industries or organizations, to provide, to fill in any gaps. That's just the reality of it. New Orleans itself, that city, rich Black history. The city isn't as chocolate, as a reference to Chocolate City, isn't as chocolate as it once was then. In fact, it's a lot of that population never even really returned post Katrina. So just given all those aspects of it, we saw a loss of an erosion of culture. It came back, but it didn't come back in the way that it was previously. I remember touring the Lower Nine Ward back in 10. So this was several years afterward. I'll never forget it. I was with Monica Talmadge and all them. Monica Talmadge, her promoter just passed, God rest her soul. We went on a tour together, and this one lady who was on this bus tour said, "You see all these homes? Brad Pitt claimed that he built all these homes. You can look this up too. I'm not making this up. Brad Pitt ain't doing SHIT." We were cracking up because he claimed he was building all these homes, but reality was, at least, he really kind of wasn't. There were a lot of homes that were still scarred, from it. The lower ninth ward, especially, they never really. I mean, it's a lot better now than it was, but for the longest time, it was very dilapidated still, and a lot of residents never returned. A lot of homes were never repaired. We saw also the faultiness of the insurance industries as a whole, and just how they proceed. Another this conversation about big businesses and whatnot. This is why it's important to vote in local elections too, because states have controls over insurance and insurance regulations and such. Very underrated that we don't discuss enough, especially in North Carolina, where the state really has a dedicated insurance commissioner. Not sure how that structure is or was with Louisiana, but folks were getting denied claims. We saw this with the California wildfires. Folks weren't getting their claims, so a lot of homes just rotted as a result. We saw the white community, they flighted away. They were able to evacuate, and they were able to return safely, or at least have their properties restored bigger and better. And obviously the tourist spots were revitalized. Like Bourbon Street, Superdome obviously was damaged. And that was a shelter for the displaced residents. And people often say, well, how come so and so didn't leave? That's a privileged standpoint, because a lot of folks can't afford to leave. So folks just have no choice but to ride it out.
Right.
So why I don't usually say these days, well, why didn't so and so just leave? I used to say that a lot. I don't really say that anymore. Especially when you deal with life, you know, people act in their best interest at that moment. And if it's economically unfeasible to leave or even stay in a hotel, you gotta have no choice but to stay where you are. So, but yeah, overall, I'm just going to use it as a full circle moment. I think we did improve after Katrina with our federal government, but now that got dealt away with this current administration that we're in. So the gaps that still need to be filled, and the call to actions that still need to be dealt with are: we have to have robust insurance policies and regulations. We have to make sure we have our nonprofits and our non-governmental agencies, or our private institutions, are equipped to deal with natural disasters or any emergency management companies when the federal government or state, local, municipality, or tribal governments can't necessarily fulfill. And we just have to be honest, a lot of these displaced people, and most of the time, are Black and brown. I mean, yeah, you might have a situation like recently in Western North Carolina, but we all know Western Carolina is mostly poor white. So that it affects them too. That's just my takeaway. New Orleans is a great place to visit. I go there at least once a year, especially for Essence Fest and all. But I just feel as though I need to catch a few of those documentaries when I can. I remember that was a big mess. It was breaking news for days. Kanye West made trouble by saying Bush don't care about Black people. That was a very big deal at the time and such. And there was a lot of government fallout. The New Orleans mayor was very conflicted. He eventually got indicted for some bribes that he took post Katrina.
Really?
Yeah, Ray Nagin. You can look that up. And some stuff that happened beforehand too, but him being in the spotlight didn't necessarily help anything. And now New Orleans' current mayor is.
I was just about to say, she's been indicted. Yeah.
So I don't know. Certain cities I would never want to be mayor, because they're haunted, they're cursed. But if you see Miss Governor on Netflix, I ain't gonna say she ain't guilty. I'm just gonna say that I can understand. That's Chris Rock.
That's a crazy show. Tyler know he wrong for that one.
Yeah. But yeah, man. I mean, I honestly, the whole Katrina thing, I really wish I could just have a better, I know I'm rambling a bit, have a better optimistic look. But if we didn't have this current administration in place, I probably would. So I feel like we're in the same mess that we were then, because literally we just had Hurricane Aaron not too far away off here. If we had a big hurricane strike today, we messed up.
Yeah,
I'm just being honest.
we are.
That's the truth.
I mean, Josh Stein and then even Roy Cooper in his Senate campaign have said over the past few weeks, I guess because it's hurricane season, that both of them are really committed to making sure that North Carolina can have a strong disaster response system, because Trump doesn't care about that crap. So
just throw you paper towel.
No, that's not going to work.
Especially that's a nod to Hurricane Maria Puerto Rico.
That's right. That's right. And he just tossed it over his shoulder or something, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, Shaq had better free throw aim.
So yeah, man, but I feel like we got to all those topics today, which is crazy. We're going to get, for the listeners and viewers, we're going to get back into a regular routine of doing this on the weekends and getting it out to you all. So as always, feel free to write us or definitely share, but comment your thoughts and what you want us to talk about the next week. But it was good to see you. I'm glad you had a good summer. And like I said, it all goes back to the local. So stay engaged and try to do what you can to help the people around you is kind of what I'd say.
As I used to say a long time ago, I might resurrect this: stay woke, not broke, and take your date to Applebee's and Chili's.
There you go, because that's about all I can afford these days.
Oh yeah,
in this economy.
Maybe tariffs. All right,
all right. Have a good one, tariffs next time.
All right, yes, for sure. All right, guys.
Everybody.
See y'all later.
Take care.